We go. All right, so we're going to do Genesis 23 and 24 today, but as a little recap from last week, we are still kind of in Abraham's story, and we saw that God kind of reviewed some of his promises of descendants and blessing and land for Abraham, and kind of tested him in some really profound and interesting ways. We talked about the almost sacrifice of his son Isaac, and that God had provided a ram instead. And so now we're going to fast forward a little bit in the timetable, and we're going to see the unfortunate end of Sarah's life, but also the baton passed to the next generation. So I kind of wanted to tie these two stories together because I wanted you to see what God was doing here as he's literally taking on off the mantle of one and putting it on the next. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about, this passing of the baton to the next generation. Okay? So let's start Genesis 23. We're going to read verses 1 and 2. Sarah lived 127 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died at Kiriath Arba, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went in to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Okay? So it's very interesting that we're told that this is the only recording of a woman's years of life that we have in the Bible of when she dies. So she is 127 years old, which would make Isaac 37. Remember, she's about 90, 91, so Isaac is about 36, 37 at this point, okay? That's why we kind of feel like that previous story about him going up on the mountain, he was probably in his 20s, maybe even early 30s, we're not told exactly, but somewhere in that time period. And it's very interesting that we're told that Abraham goes in to mourn for his wife. And so we see him
Do people not normally mourn?
They do, but it's interesting that we have the recording of this.
Okay.
So normally we would just assume that they mourned.
Okay.
And we're actually told that he goes in and he weeps for her. So we get that he doesn't have any shame in weeping for his wife and mourning for his wife. And you see the genuine love that he just had for his wife, Sarah. Okay? So let's go on to the rest of the story. Verse 3. And Abraham rose up from before his dead and said to the Hittites, I am a sojourner and a foreigner among you. Give me property among you for a burying place, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. The Hittites answered Abraham, Hear us, my lord. You are a prince of God among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will withhold from you his tomb to hinder you from burying your dead. Abraham rose and bowed to the Hittites, the people of the land, and he said to them, If you are willing that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he owns. It is at the end of his field. For the full price, let him give it to me in your presence as property for a burying place. And Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites, of all who went in at the gate of the city, No, my lord, hear me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. In the sight of the sons of my people, I give it to you. Bury your dead. Then Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephraim in the hearing of the people of the land, But if you will hear me, I give the price of the field. Accept it from me, that I may bury my dead there. Ephraim answered Abraham, My lord, listen to me. A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between me and you? Bury your dead. Abraham listened to Ephraim, and Abraham weighed out for Ephraim the silver that was named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weights current among the merchants. So the field of Ephron and Machpelah, which was at the east of Mamre, the field of the cave that is in it, and all the trees that were in the field among its whole area was made over to Abraham as a possession in the presence of the Hittites, before all who went at the gate of the city. After this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of Machpelah, east of Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. The field of the cave that is in there, it were made over to Abraham as property for a burying place of the Hittites. And we go, wow, that was a long explanation to get to a cave. Okay? So Abraham insists on purchasing a piece of land where he is. He wants to bury Sarah properly. And the Hittites offer him, you can use one of our tombs. You can put her in one of our tombs. It would be a great honor to us. But Abraham says, no, I know that God has called me to own this land, so we are going to have to need more space because eventually we're all going to die here, okay? So we start hearing this little bit of faith in Abraham again, and he says, I want a specific cave in the field that is attached to it. So he asks the man who owns it if he can buy it. And there's this interesting negotiation, and we read that's kind of weird to negotiate about this thing because he's trying to give it away and Abraham's trying to buy it, and we hear this kind of weird argument between the two of them. But actually it was in their culture a sign of honor. And so they don't really want to talk about money and kind of name prices. You know, if it was in our day, we would kind of like slide a piece of paper across the table, maybe, you know, like not really talk about it out loud. So that's kind of what they're doing here is they're kind of going back and forth in this negotiation of honor. And Ephraim finally tells Abraham, what's $400 between the two of us, basically? Or 400 pieces of silver between the two of us. And Abraham goes, okay, so there is a price. And that's your price. So this is what I'm going to give to you. So he insists on paying for this gift, or insists on paying for this cave, and he pays full price for it. 400 shekels is about 10 pounds of silver, okay? And today's estimate would be about $70,000 that he paid for a cave in a field to bury his dead. And this is the first and only land that Abraham owns in the land of Canaan, the land that God had promised him, and it's a tomb. It's a little field and a cave, and he makes it into a tomb. And that is the only land that Abraham owns in his name in the promised land. Okay? Alright, so then we have that story, and right after we have this incredible story that comes right on its heels. So I want you to remember, as we're reading this story, which is probably very familiar to you, Sarah has just died and Abraham has buried her. Okay? So now we have this story that comes right on its heels in chapter 24. So we're in Genesis 24, verse 1. Now Abraham was old, and we all laugh because this man is now 147. Okay? So he's well advanced in years. In case you didn't get that he was old, he's really old. And the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to his servant, the oldest of his household, who had charge over all he had, put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son among the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but will go to my country and to my kindred, and take a wife for my son Isaac.
Who's he talking to?
He's talking to his servant. So we're not given his name. We think it's Eleazar because we're told Eleazar was his kind of heir before Isaac was born. So we think this is Eleazar. We're not told his name. But that's the assumption. All right, verse 4.
Sorry.
No, I love questions. Verse 4. But we'll go to my country, to my kindred, and take a wife for my son Isaac. Verse 5. The servant said to him, perhaps the woman may not be willing to follow me to this land. May I then take your son back to the land from which you came? Must I then take your son back to the land from which you came? Abraham said to him, see to it that you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, who spoke to me and swore to me, to your offspring I will give this land. He will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is not willing to go to follow you, then you will be free from this oath of mine. Only you must not take my son back there. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning his master.
Why are we putting our hand under our thigh?
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
I love questions. Keep them coming. We are going to talk about that. Verse 10. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed, taking all sorts of choice gifts from his master, and he arose and went to Mesopotamia in the city of Nahor. And he made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at the time of evening, the time the women go to draw water. And he said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today and show steadfast love to my master Abraham. Behold, I am standing by the spring of water, and the daughters of men of the city are coming out to draw water. Let the young woman to whom I shall say, please let down your jar that I may drink, who shall say, drink, and I will water your camels. Let her be the woman whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I shall know that you have shown steadfast love to my master. Okay, so let's recap. This happens on the heels of Sarah dying. And Abraham goes, maybe I should get a bride for my son because we're all not getting any younger here, okay? And if he is going to be the descendant, the line of which God has promised, he's going to kind of need a wife, right? So Isaac is 37, okay? And Abraham finally decides, yep, it's time for him to have a wife, okay? But he doesn't want to take one from the surrounding areas. We have the Canaanites here, okay? He wants one taken from his homeland, which is 500 miles away back in Mesopotamia where they stopped and settled, okay? So he sends a trusted servant, okay? And it's interesting that they talk about this specific promise and oath. So, not to get graphic, but it's not really the thigh that he's putting his hand under. It's what is between the man's thigh, okay? Because this would be a vulnerable position to be put in as a master. You let someone put your hand there, okay? So he is entrusting it. Yes, exactly. A lot of trust to be put in another human being. And also this is a covenant of descendants. So where do descendants come from? That area, okay? So this is why this oath is very important. And we kind of go, wow, I would not let anybody put their hand there, right? And Abraham is saying, I want this picture. I want you to understand the severity of this picture, okay? Put your hand here and swear to me that you're going to not get a wife for my son from these Canaanite women.
I can just see the look on my husband's face.
Yeah, this is a very interesting covenant, and it was very rare. They didn't do it all the time. But he's putting himself in a very vulnerable position here, okay? I want you to swear to me based on this relationship that we have that my descendants are not going to come from the Canaanites. You're not going to intermarry with the Canaanites. Go back there and get it, okay? Go get a wife from my homeland. So the servant takes this very seriously. He understands the severity of this. This job is now entrusted to him to go 500 miles back to his homeland and pick a wife and convince her to come back. So he's got this task to do, okay? So he goes, and when he gets there, near where Abraham is from, he sets down his camels at this well, and he starts praying. And he's inviting God in this, because he's like, listen, there's all these women coming. I don't know how to choose one. I'm going to let you choose one, okay? But I'm going to have very specific. So he's praying, if I ask one of these women to give me water, not only are they going to give me water, but she's going to offer to water all these camels that are with me. Let this be the one that you choose, okay? So he's in the midst of praying this, and it's interesting of what he asks the Lord to do. He says, because of your love for my master, okay? Not even bringing up the whole descendants of what you promised. He says, God, I know you love my master. Bless me and my obedience based on your love for my master. That's what he is asking for here, okay? He wants the right woman, the one who's going to go with him, the one who's going to fulfill this promise, okay? But it's not superstition. He's not just throwing it out to chance here. This is actually going to be a test of character. Because for a woman to offer a man a drink of water would have been fine. It would have been hospitable. It would have been expected. It would have been the culture. But to water 10 camels who have traveled 500 miles is the equivalent that a camel can drink 25 to 30 gallons each. So we're talking about 300 gallons of water that she would have to draw. Could y'all imagine taking a gallon jug down to the river 300 times and filling up a trough? Okay?
Take all day.
It would take all day. This woman would have had to be strong, generous, and diligent to be able to offer to do this. Okay? This is a literal ton of water that she would have to offer to draw for these camels. Okay? So let's find out what happens. This is what the servant is praying, and I love this in verse 15, that God specifically puts this in here. Before he had finished speaking. So he is in the middle of praying this. God, this is what I want you to do, and this woman comes along. I'm not picture that. He's in the middle of talking to God in his heart, we're going to hear, not out loud, and then this woman comes along, okay? So before he had finished speaking, behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her water jar on her shoulder. The young woman was very attractive in appearance, a maiden whom no man had known. She went down to the spring and filled up her jar and came up. The servant ran to meet her and said, "Please give me a little water to drink from your jar." And she said, "Drink, my lord." And she quickly let down her jar upon her hand and gave him a drink. When she had finished giving him a drink, she said, "I will draw water for your camels also, until they have finished drinking." So not just I will fill it up one time, I will give them water.
She got to take the 300 gallons of water.
300 gallons of water. Whew. Okay. Verse 20. She quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran again to the well to draw water, and she drew water for all of his camels. Okay, so the Bible skips over this, but she went 300 times and filled it up and gave these camels water until they could not drink anymore.
No, wait, couldn't it be more than a gallon?
It might have
Because
been, yes.
They were like vessels.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
probably maybe talking a gallon, 2 gallons at most. It wouldn't have been like a jar like as big as her.
Right.
But this is like what she would have gone twice a day to fill up. So we're
Okay.
talking maybe about 2 gallons at most. So, still 150 times.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
a
water's
lot of
heavy.
times to go get water.
And water gets heavy.
Water is really heavy.
Okay.
Okay.
A gallon of water that you're holding,
Mhm.
a jug
Yeah.
is not
Imagine carrying 300
300
hundreds of times going down there and refilling it.
Mm.
Yeah, and we're not talking about going to the lake and filling it up. They would have to draw water out of the well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it was just a lake, I think I would have said, "Hey, I'll help you walk the camels on down to the lake."
They got as much as they
You'll
want.
take
She's
a for a
having
walk.
to pull that
Give me
water,
a leash.
rope up and refill and let it down.
There had to be
refill.
something back home that she didn't want to do.
If that was the alternative.
I got time on my hands. Let me do this task for
She's
you.
done this before.
She might have, but she's done this every day drawing water. But you can hear the generosity that she's having. She's willing to complete this assignment.
Get me
I
out of here.
will get water until your camels are done. That's what she's saying. She's not, I'm drawing a line. I'll get you a little bit. I'll fill up the trough. Y'all can have it, and you can fill up your camels. She's saying, I will do this until the camels are done drinking. Okay, that's a lot of water, y'all. Okay. Verse 20. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran again to the well. She's running, y'all. Literally running back and forth. Again to the well to draw water, and she drew for all his camels. The man gazed at her in silence to learn whether the Lord had prospered his journey or not. So he wants to know not only is she going to say what she's going to do, is she actually going to do it? Is she not going to stop halfway through this? Is she going to do what she said she's going to do? So he's waiting there in silence, waiting to see if she's going to do what she said she's going to do.
He ain't helping.
He ain't helping. He's just standing there, and he's got men with him. Y'all, he's got men with him.
Of course he's not.
Yeah, they're all sitting there. Verse 22. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold ring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets for her arms weighing 10 gold shekels and said, "Please tell me whose daughter you are. Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" She said to him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor." She added, "We have plenty of both straw and fodder and room to spend the night." The man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord and said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his steadfast love and his faithfulness toward my master. As for me, the Lord has led me in the way to the house of my master's kinsman." Then the young man ran, again, she's running all over the place, this Rebecca. The woman ran and told her mother's household all these things. Okay? So before the servant even finishes praying, Rebecca appears and she fulfills his silent request in every detail. She gives water to the camels, showing hospitality, and we find out that she's from Abraham's family, right? Because that was the other caveat of this.
I was gonna
Had
ask
to be
about
from
that.
Abraham's family.
Yeah, but 500 miles away?
500 miles away. And the servant doesn't know Abraham's family, so he doesn't know who's who. So he's just trusting that the Lord's going to pick the right
Guide them
woman.
in the right direction.
'Cause could you imagine? She goes, "Oh yeah, I'm from the other side of the tracks," right? And he goes, "Oh, what did I do?" But the Lord has answered in every detail this exact woman ready for Isaac. Okay. Rebecca is the granddaughter of Abraham's brother Nahor, which makes her and Isaac second cousins. Okay. So she's probably teenage age when and Isaac's about 37, So there is a little bit of difference, but not too much difference there.
Teenage and 37, there's a big difference.
Not in their culture. Not when you
Okay.
live to be 147.
Okay.
Not really that much difference. Today, yes. Today we have laws against that, but not in their time. Wouldn't have been that big a deal back then. That would have been about average. Most men between 30 and 40 would have gotten married, and most women in their teenage years. That was very standard for them. Yes. Very culturally appropriate. It's weird to us, but we have a different culture.
I mean, I see it as, I understand our side of it, but I also understand because by that time, you know that he is able to take care
Yes.
of.
He's established and
Correct.
That was-
Yeah.
that
So
was-
I
that
understand
makes
it.
sense.
It does make sense.
He had to provide for his wife and a family. He had to be able to prove that to his community. And she just had to be ready to bear children. That was her caveat. And so, yeah. So the culture is very different. It's very weird to us, but we have a different culture. Alright, so let's find out what happens. Verse 29. Rebecca had a brother whose name was Laban. We're going to talk a lot about Laban. Laban ran out toward the man to the spring. As soon as he saw the ring and the bracelet on his sister's arms, and heard the words of Rebekah his sister. Thus the man spoke to me. He went to the man. And behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. He said, "Come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and a place for your camels."
well, he sounds shady.
Oh, he's very good.
Red flags all over there.
Read the red flags all over Laban. Verse 32. So the man came to the house and unharnessed the camels and gave straw and fodder to the camels, and there was water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. Then food was set before him to eat. And he said, "I will not eat until I have said what I have to say." He said, "Speak on." So he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become great. He has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, male servants and female servants, camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and to him he has given all that he has. My master made me swear, saying, 'You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. But you shall go to my father's house and to my father's clan and take a wife for my son.' I said to my master, 'Perhaps the woman will not follow me.' But he said to me, 'The Lord before whom I walked will send his angel with you and prosper your way. You shall take a wife for my son from my clan and from my father's house. Then you will be free from your oath when you come to my clan. For if they will not give her to you, you will be free from my oath. I came today to the spring and said, O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if now you are prospering the way that I go, behold, I am standing by the spring of water. Let the virgin who comes out to draw water, to whom I shall say, please give me a little water from your jar to drink, and who will say to me, drink, and I will drink for your camels also. Let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son. Behold, before I had finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew water. And I said to her, please let me drink. And she quickly let down the jar from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will give your camels drink also. So I drank, and she gave the camels drink also. Then I asked her, whose daughter are you? She said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. So I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her arms. Then I bowed my head and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who led me by the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. Now then, if you are going to show steadfast love and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me that I may turn to the right hand or the left. Okay, so we're introduced to Rebekah's brother Laban, and it is not the last time we will hear about Laban. Okay, we see right away Laban's character. His eyes are directly drawn to the gold dripping off of his sister, and he goes, "Oh, who gave you that? Let me go talk to him." Okay, so he runs to go meet the servant and invites them home. "Oh, come, you must be so tired on your journey. I have a place for you. I can take care of your animals. Please come home with me." Okay, so the servant is cared for and given a chance to recount the entire thing back again for the family. Remember, they weren't there, okay? So he recounts everything from the oath he gave Abraham to the journey, to him at the well, to what Rebecca said, everything. And he says it is all on the basis of God being faithful to my master Abraham. And then he gives an offer to them. Tell me what you're going to do. Is she coming with me or not? Let me know. So he's putting everything else in everyone else's hands. Everything was in God's hands of picking out the woman, and now everything is in her family's hands. This is my offer. What are you going to do? Okay?
Was the ring and the bracelets the purchase price for her?
No. So that was just a gift. And it's basically kind of, we get the idea that it was like a thank you for what she did, and of like a starting bid offer. And then we're going to hear in the rest of the story that he actually gives the full dowry. So we're going to get to that part in a minute. But yeah, so kind of like we would
This
call
was
it a
just
down
an
payment.
enticement.
Yeah, a little enticement, little down payment, little, hey, thanks. I got a proposition for you. Let's talk. Let's
300 trips to the river.
Yeah.
Here's a bracelet for your
Here's a bracelet
trouble.
for your trouble. Yeah. Yeah, but this is
And a nose ring?
gold. Yeah, it would have been very common in that time for women to have a nose ring. Yeah, and we're talking like big nose ring. Yeah,
And
very
go right
common.
up here, hook where you
Yeah,
sign.
sometimes they like hook it in there. Yeah, it's
In
a
the bow?
cultural thing. No, sometimes just right here, but it would have been big, like this big. Yeah.
Jenifer, do you think there's a possibility that they may have heard of Abraham, of his wealth and of his?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm sure
They knew who
Yeah.
Abraham was. Yeah. But his family doesn't really know a whole lot from them, because remember, he gets all these servants and everything after he leaves. So they don't know much about his family, but his family definitely knows about him. Yeah. And the servant is confirming all of the rumors and stuff that they've heard. He's like, oh yeah, let me list all the things that the Lord has blessed my master with. Okay? So you can just hear, you can see Laban, just like the wheels are turning. Oh yeah, this is going to be awesome for me. Okay? So the servant takes an opportunity to testify of all the Lord has done. The same God who spoke to Abraham, who saw and heard Hagar, and who made Sarah's womb produce fruit, heard the prayers of this servant too, and answered in every single detail. Okay? So he now proposes to them. What are you going to do? Tell me. So let's find out what happens in verse 50. Then Laban and Bethuel, so this is Rebekah's brother and father, answered and said, this thing has come from the Lord. We cannot speak to you bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. When Abraham's servant heard these words, he bowed himself to the earth before the Lord. And the servant brought out jewelry of silver and of gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah. So this is now her dowry. They've agreed to this contract, so now he's given her the dowry. So he also gave to her brother and to her mother costly ornaments. After he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there, when they arose in the morning, he said, send me away to my master. Her brother and her mother said, let the young woman remain with us a while, at least 10 days. After that she may go. But he said to them, do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. And they said, let us call the young woman and ask her. And they called Rebekah and said to her, will you go with this man? Putting her in a very interesting position. She said, I will go. So they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister, may you become thousands of 10,000s. May your offspring prosper, possess the gate of those who hate him. Then Rebekah and her young woman arose and rode on the camels and followed the man. Thus the servant took Rebekah and went his way. Okay, let's pause right there for a second. So
Were they trying to keep her or trying to be shady about something?
no, let's talk about that. Okay, so at first the brother and the father kind of agreed to let her go, and the dowry is exchanged. So that would have been the end of the contract there. Okay,
Right.
They settle in for the night. Something happens overnight there. Okay, the next morning they want to delay her from going. So they probably either maybe have second thoughts,
Or want more
Or-
dowry?
possibly to get more dowry, or possibly to celebrate with her because they're not going with her, so they would not have been part of the wedding celebration where Abraham is. So
But it's that brother that I just am not feeling it was
Right.
that positive.
So we really get the idea that Laban's in on this of like,
Yes.
hey, we could probably get more for her
That's what I was thinking.
if we ask for more, let her.
Would
So
That's
not
immediately
have-
where my
Would
brain.
the family not have gone over to
be
part of the
list.
wedding?
Not
I mean,
500
Not
miles
500
away.
miles away on
And
a
we
camel.
have no airplanes. Like we can't just hop in for the weekend. They have no plans to go participate in the wedding.
We don't even want to
Now,
drive an hour
how-
to the venue.
That's
Right?
true. Very timely for this discussion. But yeah,
Was that, I mean, so it wasn't common to go that far away.
it really was not common to go all the way back to your homeland to get a wife. Normally, you would have had a more convenient, covenant and known the people who were with you. But remember, they're living as foreigners. And so Abraham wants somebody from far away, and her family is probably like, we're never going to see her again. We're not going to be part of the wedding celebration, and we're not going to see her again. Which probably also plays into she's probably worth a lot more than what he's given her, and maybe we can get a little bit more out of her. So it's probably a lot of layers here that they're dealing with, and we're not told exactly why. But it's interesting that we get her brother first mention of her brother wants her to stay, and her mother. Yeah, so we kind of get that Laban is a little bit of a player in this whole situation, okay? And he's like, oh no, we can get far more for her than what you've already given us. Yeah. Okay, so it's an interesting twist and an interesting thing that they call Rebecca forward. And they say, why don't we ask her, hoping that she's going to stay faithful to the family and be like, yeah, I'll stay with my family, and maybe we can get some more money out of these people. That's what they're hoping is going to happen. Oh, I'd love to stay here for 10 more days and spend time with my family and kiss them and hug them and get to say goodbye to everybody. Because remember, she's got 11 uncles. I mean, there's a huge family there for her and a support system. So they're hoping that she's going to say, I want to stay. And when they ask her, she goes, no, I'll go with him. I love Rebecca so much. She goes, no, obviously this is from the Lord. I'll go with him. Yeah, that's her answer. She goes, no, I'll go. I'll pick up and I'll leave everything to marry a man that I've never met. And I'll leave all of my family
She really didn't want
and
that.
everything.
Please tell me Isaac's a good person.
Huh?
Isaac's a good husband, right?
Isaac's a good husband. He's not such a great dad. He's a great husband.
Oh.
Well, we're going to talk more about Isaac. So Rebecca says, I will go. And she leaves everything. And we hear just this incredible faith and courage again from her. She's so strong. She's so faithful, so courageous. She goes, yeah, I'll go. I'll travel 500 miles, marry a man I've never met, leave everything behind. Okay? And it's interesting that her family turns around and blesses her and prays exactly for what Abraham's God wants to do for her. He wants to make her thousands of 10,000s and have the enemies possess the gates. Okay? So her family blesses her and sends her off, never knowing if they're ever going to see her again. And her family never sees her again. Okay? So I want you to sit with that for a minute. So she gets on the camel and heads off, rides off into the sunset. Now in verse 62, we're going to have our camera pan, because remember we were talking about these two different stories. We hear a little bit from Isaac, and then we hear a little bit from Rebecca, so we're going to pan back to Isaac here. So verse 62. Now Isaac had returned from Beer-lahai and was dwelling in Negev. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. And he lifted up his eyes, and he saw, and behold, there were camels coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from the camel and said to the servant, who's that man walking in the field to meet us? And the servant said, it is my master. So she took her veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. Then Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah his mother, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Okay.
How long does this all take? Like, I mean, here, it's not just like,
Well, I can't imagine how long it took to go 500 miles to walk in some 10 camels.
Do you want to know?
Yes.
Okay. So Isaac's meditating in the field, and it seems like in these verses it's maybe like hours a day. That's what it kind of reads like. They just got on a train and headed that way. Isaac probably would have been doing this for close to 2 months. To travel 500 miles there and 500 miles back would have taken about 2 months.
Weren't they supposed to mourn the death of someone for 30 days?
Right now, we don't have any stipulation to mourn, that more comes into like Exodus and Leviticus and stuff.
Okay,
There would have probably been some cultural expectations of mourning, but we're not exactly told how long between Sarah gets buried and Abraham's like, probably need to go find her a wife,
right.
find a wife. So we're not told it. They could have done the mourning period between that. But obviously he's still grieving his mother, even after.
Because he went into her tent with Rebecca.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he basically.
Initially, when I read that, I thought, well, wait a minute, I thought she died, but she had been.
Yeah,
She
she's
had
been
been passed,
buried.
and he was in just.
Yes.
He's missing his mom.
He's missing his mom greatly. You can really hear Isaac's heart here. He's really still grieving his mother. Okay.
Sure.
So he's meditating in a field, which is very interesting because we're never told that Abraham ever goes and meditates in a field. But Isaac is out there, and he's not just tending sheep. He's out there to pray to the Lord because he knows what's coming. At some point in the distance, he's going to see dust stirring up and camels are going to head his way, either with his wife or with just the servant and the men who left and no wife. So he has to trust whatever God's going to do on that journey to bring all of them back to safety, because that would have been a huge trip to take, and to come back with his wife.
So
Okay.
Isaac knew it? I thought Abraham just set it up.
Yeah, I didn't remember you saying in the beginning when you started reading that Isaac knew he was going to go get him.
Well,
a wife. Or he just-
Abraham tells the servant, but it's kind of like in the midst of Isaac. We're not told exactly that he's the one who tells Isaac, but you kind of like, why is the servant getting camels and everybody leaving?
Okay.
Abraham would have been like, yeah, they're gonna go find a wife
Oh,
for
okay.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been a big, what are we doing here? Or are they going on a camping trip like we went on a camping trip?
Yeah.
What are you doing here,
Y'all
Mom?
have fun.
What are you doing here?
I'll give you that.
Yeah. Why are you sending them away? They don't have a lamb with them. Yeah, it would have very been reminiscent for Isaac here. All right, so Isaac has waited 2 months praying, and when Rebecca sees Isaac, she gets off the camel and she goes, "Hey, who's that guy? Is that my husband?" And the servant says, "Yeah, that's your man right there. That's him. That's my servant. I am master. This is Isaac." And it's interesting what Rebecca does. She takes her veil and she covers herself. And that is where we get the reason why brides veil themselves. We get because Rebecca chose to veil herself.
Well, all right then.
And it was probably done for modesty and reverence. As I'm humbling myself before you. Okay, it wouldn't have been like shame of like I'm covering my face before you, but just out of very modesty and reverence for Isaac. So we hear again Rebecca just showing this incredible character from Rebecca. Okay, so Isaac takes Rebecca as his wife, and we're told that he takes her into his mother's tent. So this is the sign of the mantle being passed down. Sarah is now gone. Rebecca is now going to be the matriarch of this family. Okay, so he takes her into his mother's tent, gives her his mother's tent, and it says that he loves her. The first time we hear of a husband loving a wife from Isaac, he really truly does absolutely love her. Okay, so this incredible love story is orchestrated entirely of God. He is carried through faith and prayer and obedient steps, and it's a picture of just how much God cares about the little details of our lives and of our relationships, and how we should seek him in small things and the big things, in all of these little decisions of our life. We see the obedient steps of Rebecca, of Isaac, and of this servant. And we get to see the mantle pass from Sarah to Rebecca, one of my favorite characters.